Hey guys, it's Nancy, and today I have some tips for writing a final paper, whether you're starting the day of or a month before the paper's due date. And I had no idea how to start writing my first paper when I was in college, so I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way, hence you're watching this video and why I wanted to make it. And so this video is pretty much geared towards college students writing academic papers. I don't really think these tips apply to high school students, as I'm sure your papers don't have to be this thorough. The one tip I have for high school students is to absolutely follow the rules that your teacher gives you. If your teacher gives you a structure of how to write, since it's topic, sentence, example 1, 2 sentences explaining it, and concluding sentence, I know that's my 5-sentence paragraph structure that I was taught to use in high school. I would follow that structure 100%. In high school, it's all about doing what your teacher says, which sucks, and you'll learn in college that that is not the way to learn or challenge your mind or improve your writing at all. But you gotta follow your teacher's instructions if you're in high school. However, if you're in college, you might be able to pick up a few tips from this video just because it's geared towards research papers and academic writing for these research papers, especially lengthy papers, and it's all about organization and structure and also mindset. So that's mostly what I'm going to be covering because I know absolutely nothing about creative writing or creative papers. So that being said, let's get started. Personally, I'll never forget the time that I had to write a 30-page research paper in 5 days, 3 of which I had to spend in China with absolutely no internet. But what I learned is that that was one of the best papers I've ever written, and the process that I used to write that paper is the process that I'll use for all my future papers. But before I delve into these tips, I just wanted to give you guys my personal background to show you where my perspective on writing paper comes from. When I was in high school, writing was the skill with which I struggled the most, and it wasn't until college that I developed a process and improved my writing skills. Ever since I developed that process, I haven't turned in a paper that I wasn't proud of or received a grade that I didn't want. I have been published in the internships that I've worked at, and I've also edited written work of my coworkers throughout all the stages of the writing process. So I've seen both perspectives, and this doesn't mean that my tips will work for everyone, but this structure has been the starting point of my own success as a writer, so I just wanted to share it with you. Now, as I go into these steps, I'm assuming you already know from your professors that you need to have a thesis argument, you need to have proper citations, and correct grammar, so I won't go into those details. Step number 1. No matter how cut on time you are, writing should never be a chore to you, but you should approach it as an art. And I know that sounds really lame, but my point is that if you're not passionate about your topic, you need to fake it until you are, because research and reading about your topic is not only the most important part of the process, but also the most time-consuming part. And the good thing about college is that you often get to choose your writing topics for your classes, but if it's a forced topic that your professor assigns you, then you really have to pretend to like it. You really have to tell yourself everything that's interesting about this. Remind yourself why you're taking this class, why you're pursuing this major, or anything, even for a little bit, just to get you through this writing process. Step number 2, going back to my internet-less China paper anecdote, I want you to pretend like you have to write a paper in a foreign country without the internet, and that you have to gather all your research beforehand in an outline. I find that this is the fastest and the least stressful way to write. So now I'm going to give you the structure that I use. I like to begin my papers by introducing my topic, giving my thesis, and then for longer papers I'll talk about the upcoming sections. So for example, I'll write, the next section will detail ... Section 2 examines the argument for ... Section 3 examines ... and the paper concludes with so and so. And when I mention these sections, I mean subheaders, and I find that subheaders in a paper is the single best way to improve your paper's organization. Subheaders are always used in academic publications, but it can be helpful even if you're only writing a paper that's only 5 pages long. So I'm talking about those part 1 in bold, colon, topic or argument, part 2, bold, topic or argument, etc. And what I mean is I'll just write my introduction and then head the section, so I'll just use the same size font and just bold it and then skip a line and then go on to writing the paragraphs for that section and then doing it again. But for my structure, I'll always, after my introduction and my thesis and everything, I'll always start with a background section if it's a paper longer than 10 pages. Otherwise, I'll leave the background section in the introduction of the paper, and then after my body arguments with the subheaders, I will have a conclusion, and my conclusion would just be a recap of my argument and state the implications that my argument would have for my topic if it is proven true. So that's the basic structure that I use, and if you found that confusing, I'll list it underneath the box. So just open the box and I'll show you like what I mean by subheaders. And I find that this way of writing structures your argument in a way that's both easy to follow for your grader and also easy to write for you. So the best thing is that it breaks down your paper into smaller parts, and for me that makes the task feel much less daunting. Step number 3, check out all the books and download all the articles relevant to your paper's topic and subtopics, including anything on the topic's background information. And you should only be using books, academic articles, and the occasional news article or legitimate website if it's relevant to your topic. And then I'd organize my books and articles by section according to my outline. So for example, some books will be used for my background, just to give background information on the topic. Other books will be used as an example for my argument and why it's true and why these reasons are true. And some other articles or books will be used to state a counter argument and to disprove that counter argument. And for all the papers that you write, you absolutely must have a section about a counter argument and you disproving that counter argument. And that's something really important to keep in mind that you must not forget when writing any paper, is that you have to have a counter argument and disprove that. So going back to the articles and books, I would first read the abstracts of the articles to place them in their subcategories before skimming the entire article. And then afterwards, I would skim the relevant articles and find the good quotes. And then I would read the relevant book chapters if you still need books. Sometimes you might not even need books if you have enough articles for your argument, but do use books if your professor requires them as a source. Like I said, for high school, it still applies to college. You have to always follow the rules. If a professor tells you to write a certain way or use a certain source, then you absolutely must do that, because otherwise you will not get the grade that you deserve for all your hard work. And then throughout this whole process, I would jot down all the quotes under their respective subheaders or topic. Step number 4. As you're jotting down all your quotes and you're thinking of reactions to the quotes or things to say in relation to the context, I want you to jot down all your thoughts. And these don't have to be in complete sentences. In fact, I like to write exactly what is going on in my mind down, even if it sounds like I'm rambling or even if it doesn't make sense completely, just so that I can get as much thought written down on paper as possible. I find that if you try to edit your thoughts as you're jotting them down, oftentimes you'll miss the whole point of what you're trying to say at the expense of trying to make it sound good. So you can always edit later, but for now, just jot down everything that you want to say. And then before you know it, you have all the pieces of your paper right in front of you, and you just have to put them into coherent sentences and paragraphs before you have your final paper. Step number 5. Now that you have everything you need to write your research paper without internet or without outside resources, crank out that paper using only the outline that you've made and your notes. This should be the least time-consuming part. Step number 6. Proofread and edit your paper as if the President of the United States were going to read your paper, or as if you're going to be published. My best way of doing this is to read everything I write out loud. It really helps to slow down, because when you're reading in your mind, you can easily miss mistakes just by reading, because you already know what you're writing, so you tend to read it faster because you know the context. But if you read it out loud, then you're forced to slow down and to catch all the mistakes if it doesn't sound right. And as you're reading your paper out loud and editing it, you want to make sure that every single sentence adds value, whether or not there is a page limit to your paper. And also you should use the to be verb, so is, be, are, any of that, and also adjectives. Yes, I mean adjectives, as little as possible in academic writing. And I definitely mean that last tip, so take that seriously. Make sure to look through your paper to have as few to-be verbs as possible, because you want to express yourself as a good writer through using verbs and adverbs rather than through the to-be verb and through adjectives. Adjectives sound like you're trying too hard, they're very elementary, and they're definitely not for academic writing. If you have to describe something, use an adverb to do it, but mostly base your paper on using really strong and really powerful action verbs. The best thing about writing papers is that you are absolutely in control of your grade. That being said, you should not stop editing your paper until it's where you want it to be. Even with the lack of time, you still have no excuse to not get close to the grade that you want, because you have full control over it, unlike an exam where no matter how much you study, you could have something completely unexpected on the test. There is nothing unexpected about writing a paper. So those are all my steps, and if your paper is organized and is well written with thorough content, then it's really difficult to go wrong. To improve your writing for the future, I have some more tips, and one is to reread everything that you write after it's graded, whether it's good or bad, because you want to know what you did right or wrong. And even as you're writing your next paper, you refer to your past work. If an opening paragraph structure worked really well last time, then use it again. I always go back to my old work to help me with future outlines. Next, read as many academic publications in your free time as possible. And I don't mean novels, and nothing against novels. Novels are great and help with your vocabulary and are just great in general in making you a smarter person and adding to like the arsenal of knowledge in your head. But to improve your academic writing, you need to read those academic journal articles to get a sense of their language and structure, because that's what you'll be aiming for in all college academic papers. Third, next time make sure to give yourself enough time to enjoy your writing instead of making it feel like a chore. And that being said, good luck on your final paper. Being where you are now, you already know that there is the light at the end of the tunnel, and no matter how stressed you are now, just think how much better you'll feel when you're done with that paper and you know that you've turned in a product that you're really proud of. A good paper can be sent to a potential employer, it can even be published, but most importantly, it's proof that you are a good writer and that you can be a good writer. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment below. If you have final exams coming up, check out my video of study tips for final exams linked below. And please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I'll see you once you've turned in that final paper. Thanks for watching, bye. Oh yeah, and I can show you my outfit that I'm wearing today because I think it's perfect for final exams or writing papers, just because I spent all day at a coffee shop in this outfit and it's very comfortable. So it's just this black tank top with a shawl over it and some red corduroy pants and my furry Ugg slippers, which are super comfortable, and apparently you can wear them outside. I didn't know that, but I was reading reviews on these and people are like, I wear them everywhere. So now I'm wearing them everywhere because they're comfortable and cozy, and I have no shoes except for my boots and they broke, so that's life right now, and yeah.